Buongiorno.
Buongiorno, signore e signori. Mi chiamo Adrian Tadzenega, and I am the creator of Literary Deathmatch.
Sono Suzanne Azzopardi. I am the executive producer and COO of Literary Deathmatch.
So
welcome!
Yes, thank you for having us here. We know everybody, thank you. We know you are all about to fall asleep after lunch, but we are going to wake you up by 5%, so you'll still be able to sort of sleep. But many of you in Italy have never experienced Literary Deathmatch because we've never done it here, weirdly. We will. But Suzanne, if you could explain what Literary Deathmatch is, please.
I'm going to explain what Literary Deathmatch is. Literary Deathmatch is 4 writers reading 7 minutes or less of their own work in front of 3 all-star judges. They both read in 2 writers reading 2 rounds, and the judges judge on literary merit, performance, and intangibles, then deliberate and choose 1 reader from each round to go through to a fantastic, slightly literary finale, which has a little bit to do with books and a lot to do with fun.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right.
Just to give some larger context, we've done Literary Deathmatch in 46 cities around the world. We've done 267 events, and there's one other thing. Oh, I think 19 countries.
19 countries? To how many people?
Oh, I think we've 50,000. 50,012 people. So that's the exact count. We will be doing it in Ljubljana, Slovenia on the 28th. You are all welcome. It's very close. And then in Zagreb, Croatia, I think right after that. We don't have a firm date yet. But one thing about Literary Deathmatch, could you hit that slide? I just want to remember. Oh, the beginning, why it started. You must be wondering why it started. When I lived in New York City when this started 7 years ago, there were a couple things that were happening, and one of them was that readings were not fun enough. We wanted them to be more fun. So one way in which people were trying to get audiences to readings that happened is people would bring in comedians to perform along with writers. And I always thought that was a terrible idea because after somebody had been very funny for 10 minutes, then a reader would have to come on and read about how their sister died. And it just never fit. It just wasn't sensible. So what we did was we brought comedians to comment on the literature, which brings in our judges, and we bring in all kinds of people, actors, comedians, chefs, ballerinas. We'll talk more about that. But basically, we just wanted to electrify people around literature and to get them excited because effectively we all love it, but we have a lot of email to check. So we're trying to balance that. And then in terms of the time limit, we have a 7-minute time limit. And the reason is we started with a 10-minute time limit, and that we'd noticed that people went 11. Then we changed it to 8 minutes, and we realized people went 9. So then we went down to 7 minutes because we feel like people quit listening at 6 minutes. But if it's really good, they'll listen for another minute or 2. And then if people go over time, instead of being rude and jumping up and being like, hey, you're long, we just shoot, oh God! We just shoot them with this Nerf gun. And that way, it's a funny way to let people know that they have to stop reading soon. And if they go 8 minutes, we shoot them again. I'm going to shoot you people in the back for fun. And then see that? Oh. And then at 9 minutes, we actually have the front row come up and hug the reader until they stop reading. That's only happened once, and he did it on purpose. But it's just a way to sort of be like, we're not trying to be rude, but we like you enough, we'll buy your book. So that's important. And the biggest thing for us, I believe, is that we try to create, this is publishing as entertainment, but really, to me, literature is spectacle. And inviting people, and I always wear 3-piece suits to the show to host it. And when people come in, they're like, oh, this is not just a reading, this is an event. So we try to create a real spectacle around literature. Hit it, Suze! Oh, could you back up? This is one of our finales to decide the winner. This was Pin the Mustache on Hemingway. And that person has my scarf wrapped around their head, and they have a mustache of William Faulkner in their hand. And they're about to pin it on this poster of Hemingway here that you can't see. So pretty serious stuff. But go ahead, Suze.
We want to tell you a bit about the audience and how important the audience are to us for Literary Deathmatch. It's not just about the writers that come and read. It's not just about the celebrity judges that come and comment and are entertaining. The audience is really important. We want them to come and discover the best new writer they've ever seen, a poet they've never seen. They come and they think, I really like this comedian who's a judge, but then they discover the best book they've ever read. And that's really, really important for us.
Yeah.
It's a very inclusive environment. We're not interested in something that feels academic, where you feel like you have to have read the whole works of Shakespeare to be there. That's not important. It's important that you come along, you meet everybody, you have a really good time, and you find out something you never thought you'd find out before.
Yeah, when we started Literary Deathmatch, I always said that it was like a party that happened to have a reading attached. And the people that come they're all ages, but there's like a sexiness that's very big to us, is like reading is sexy if you present it right. And so we've been able to bring in a lot of people to do it. When we first started, the bigger writers were like, I don't want to be embarrassed. But then as we had more people do it, they realized that, in fact, it was a celebration of literature, not ever a criticism of it or a position to be embarrassed by. So that's really important, and the audience feels that fully, because they're very engaged and they're having a good time, but at the same time, they are seeing great literature. And it's one of the big things for us was that the audience was viewing, because of the judges on stage, they were actually listening more intently to the readings, because then they were going to get the jokes. So it's sort of this subversive way to get people in a wild bar club setting to be completely quiet for 7 minutes at a time to listen to these really fantastic readers. And I think we're going to talk about curation in a second.
We are going to talk about curation. What's really important for our shows, and this is something we talk regularly to publishers about. Publishers have a publicity circuit, and they take their authors out to bookshops and they read, and that's a very standard thing. But we find it really important that the things that are going to bring the wider audience to our shows, and not just the people who will go to bookshops and go to literary readings, are maybe it's an up-and-coming writer, it's new, there was something in the news about them, maybe they have a film coming out based on their book, maybe there's a TV show that's been based on their book.
Maybe they're an actor in a TV show and they've written a book. All those things are very important, because if you have a comedian or an actor who's written a book, maybe a person knows that TV show or that film and they come to see that, but then they discover the new writer that only we've seen at some reading that was to 20 people, and we invite that person, and then they're exposed to our audience. And we average I would say between 100 and 200 people per event. We've had as many as 600 and as few as 9 one time, but that was just funny. But usually we have a minimum audience of around 75, so it's they're much bigger audiences than people are usually used to reading to, which is very exciting for them, because so many times, especially in LA where I've lived for the last year and 4 months, so many people will come up to me and say, where did you find these people? Like I know the 20 people that come to readings, and you have 190 people here, and I don't know them. And that's one of the most flattering things for us, because we're trying to go well beyond just the literary community of the different cities we go to, and to bring those writers to the forefront in the different places.
Something about that is about balance. So we like to find a gender and a racial balance in all of our shows, and that means that it's not just the audiences who are brought in by a TV star or a comedian or something else that they like. It's not the traditional literary reading audience. I feel a little bit like publishing is a little bit too white, and I think there should be a bigger representation for gender and racial aspects, and that helps us bring in a bigger audience as well, because we're creating a show for everybody. It's for everybody. We want everyone to get excited, and you can't do that if you're only curating it for a very niche audience, You need to think bigger, basically.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we do.
And yeah, by being around 7 years, we started and we did it a certain way. We did it a way that was easy for us, so people would say yes, and then we'd realize we had 3 male readers and 1 woman, and people would say, why didn't we have 2, women? And then now that's very important to us, because it's obvious. But it's funny that when you start something, you're just like, oh, I just want to do it, but then as you grow and criticism comes in, now we wouldn't do a show without 2 women readers, or, racial balance is really important to us for the same reason. I mean, we're realistic in that if we're doing the show in Dublin, we understand there's a particular skin tone that pervades that entire city. But for the most part, as we travel around, it's very important for us to do that. I mean, London makes it easy, LA, New York, and it just makes the show so much better. Diversity, as we all have figured out. It just makes the show so rich and makes everything much richer. Crowdsourcing is a really important thing about the show. When we started it, how we began was to ask, it was in New York, so we went to literary magazines, we went to other reading series, and we said, hey, why don't you send your best person or your most exciting person to read and represent you? And so what we were doing there was we were crossing audiences. So if we had the Paris Review or we had a small website named LMA that no one's ever heard of, you get to see all these things brought together, and then everybody... we're about to be arrested.
They're coming to get you.
I think somebody's injured. Yeah, anyway, so it was a cool way to bring audiences together to expose people to new things. There's so many times where in our program when we have a reader, we read their bio, but first we say they're representing magazine X or reading series B. That's not
Or Publisher C.
Publisher C. And by doing that, it just informs people about what's going on in the literary world, and we say, well, if you've never heard of this, Google it. Go to the website, check it out. And it's just a way to really expand audiences, because if you've got 200 people in a room that care about books or want to care about books, then they're going to check those things out and ideally buy everything that those websites offer.
The other thing I want to talk about is localization as well. We've taken this show, how many countries? 19 countries?
I think it'll soon be 21.
Okay, we've taken it to 19 countries. We've been in 46 cities. That seems like a really difficult thing to do. But actually, it's not as hard as you think. I think if Twitter didn't exist, then it would be very, very difficult. Yeah. But we basically put the word out there and said, hey, we want to do a show in Berlin. Who's going to be there? Who's going to help us? And then we will speak to cultural organisations there. We'll speak to publishers. There might be writers on the ground there who want to help, who know venues. And then we help co-curate something that we understand is right literary deathmatch. It's exactly what people are going to expect from our show. And then the guys in the local area will be saying, well, this is the perfect venue for your crowd. This is the perfect writer. You should see them. This is something new that's really interesting for the people in this city. So we're not about necessarily just bringing American or UK authors to the rest of the world. It's about what's relevant in a territory and what's going to excite people about literature and writing in their area.
That's cool, yeah, and that's one of my favorite things and why we've done it in 46 cities, because each city, as we've expanded, we have more crossover. People from Finland happen to be in the UK, so we're like, oh, you're great, we saw you. Well, I saw him read in Finnish, but read in English and I'll understand it this time. But the idea of using a local community to basically express the show is a really cool thing, because if we come to do it in Milan, we're going to see Italian writers that maybe not everybody has seen, and we're going to be introduced to those people. And then when they are over in the US or in the UK, then we get to expose them to those audiences. So it's a really cool way to help grow authors. And I mean, we always say we want to make authors stars, and that's a really great way to do it, by keep bringing them through our circuits and using our audiences to see these new people. So
yeah, okay. Then next, the performers. We've touched on this a little bit, but this is basically about why people want to do Literary Deathmatch. I think people hear the name, they're like, oh my God, death, are you going to kill me? Are you going to humiliate me, embarrass me on stage? No. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a lot of fun. And you're going to read, and the whole audience is going to love you, because we've created an environment where nobody judges you, nobody's criticising you. We have 3 judges on stage who are there just to give you humorous commentary and not to say that you're good or you're bad. Well, they'll probably say that you're brilliant.
They usually say that.
They usually say that you're brilliant.
We're pretty good curators, so mostly everybody is brilliant.
Yeah, everybody is brilliant. And it's kind of like a warm, fuzzy place where you feel at home and you're happy that you're there. And once the writers realise that this is a safe place to read and it's not some crazy thing that is going to scare them, then they can't wait to do it. And the amount of writers who said, I'm not sure, it seems a bit scary. And we say, well, come and see a show. And they come and see a show.
We have
and then they're like, oh my God, I want to do the show.
Yeah, we have 100% people seeing it then wanting to do it ratio, which is pretty good rate. Yeah, and also you said something and then I was going to say something and now I have no idea what that thing was.
What was it?
It was about audience, and then What did you say? Start over. Start from the top.
Okay.
Back up. I'm just kidding.
I said the performers want to do it because it's fantastic and it's fun.
What did you say before that? Don't pay attention to this part. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Just trust that it was something really amazing and it would have changed your entire day for the better. So that's fun. The LDM philosophy. Ralph Waldo Emerson said nothing great has ever been achieved without enthusiasm. That is basically the cornerstone of everything we do. The other quote is Oscar Wilde said, anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination. We skate by financially, but it'll all come to pass. But yeah, enthusiasm's big. I talked to Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Just happened to see him at a party. I felt like I was in an episode of that TV show for 15 minutes while I spoke with him. And at the end, I said, it would be great for you to do our show. And he's like, And I said, but think about it. Like, we'll get these other people to do it with you. And I mentioned some really great people. And he said, how are you going to make that happen? And I said, I write really charming emails. So he hasn't done it yet, but I haven't written him the email yet. So I think that'll come to pass. And then we've talked about discovery a little bit, just the idea that you come in to see one reader and you discover an actor who's judging performance and you're like, what TV show is that? That must be great. Or you come to see a comedian that you've seen and then you find a reader. So there's a lot of crossover. Or you just come and find out that you can get drunk with great-looking people in the audience and ideally kiss someone, and then you're like, oh, literature. I always say that literary babies, that's what we're doing. We're just creating an environment for people to sleep together so we can have smarter children that all read. And then graciousness, that's the final thing, which is we just love being kind. I don't know, I'm my mother's son, so she always raised me to try to make everyone in the room feel good. And instead of making that an exhausting thing, we do the show, and it just makes everyone feel warm and fuzzy. That's what I was going to say. The title of the event is actually really important. And some of you, before you saw this, you thought, oh, Literary Deathmatch, and you thought whatever you thought. But typically, the reaction that we get if we speak about it at a bar or at a friend's party is, oh, that sounds crazy. That's interesting. And of course, the event isn't a literary death match, but the big name sort of suggests wild things so we can lure people in with the name. And that's, if we called it warm, fuzzy reading, nobody would come. And so it's interesting that the big title expresses something to people and it gets them amped up for something. And I always overpromise with the event when I meet people. I say it's going to be the greatest night of your life. And because I say it with such enthusiasm, point one, people show up at the event cautious, but then they're like, oh, well, I might as well believe it. And then it perpetuates that way. So that's pretty fun.
What's next? Well, this is a thing. Literary Deathmatch isn't really for us just a live event. It's a live event in a lot of places, but it's more than that. My background's in entertainment. I've worked in entertainment for 17 years. I look younger than I am. Our content strategy is really important.
She's 7 years old. That's weird.
Our content strategy is really important. What else can we do to promote books? How else can we work with publishers and writers to make sure that their words are heard? I worked in the music industry for 8 years, and we had every which way to promote an artist. They have thought of everything, but it's not been done for the publishing industry. And one of the next steps that we're moving towards is having sound clips of all our shows. So not just podcasts, which we have a few of and we're going to be doing more of, but sound clips are really important. So if you missed London Literary Deathmatch episode 32 last week and you didn't hear the Kill Your Friends author John Niven saying very rude and hilarious things that I can't repeat in front of a polite audience, you can hear it on our Audioboo channel. And Audioboo are a fantastic hub that the BBC use for a lot of their radio sound clips. And we're going to be launching a channel in about 6 to 8 weeks with amazing readers reading pieces of their work. These are shareable clips, so you can embed links directly to Amazon if you want to buy the book after you've heard it. It's shareable. We're really making the most of social. This is really important just for publishers as well. When we create an online hub, which is the place where you can discover all the best new writers because they've read at Literary Deathmatch, you're creating something more and better value for the publishers and the writers themselves. And that's, I won't go into data strategy because I think we've talked a little bit about that today, but, the sort of things you can do with that and learning about your audience and who is discovering your authors is really, really important. So that's our first step. Also, brand partnerships, not just with publishers who are really fantastic at supporting our shows and donating books and helping us get amazing authors to read, but big brands, drinks brands, people who can create a bigger show and bigger audiences and reach audiences that we don't have in our traditional social circle. For us, we just want to grow this because the bigger Literary Deathmatch is, the more people will hear great writing and the more people will discover books or writing that they never heard before. So
that's part of the 7-minute time limit as well, is the idea that everything is effectively a taste test. And you're going to see a great writer. You don't need to see them read for more than that because you'll want to buy the book at that point. So that's really important. Another thing about the brand partnerships, we're also starting to launch a thing where we will have publishers help us fund filming the events, and then we're going to break out that content, and they can use those for ebooks, ebook extras, things like that. And I think that's a really nice thing, just to keep getting those things out.
These are all little extra things on our business model, which is basically, people wonder how we do this. We're not making huge amounts of money, we're mostly breaking even, but fundamentally all the shows are ticketed so that people are paying to come and see these authors. Occasionally we will do literary festivals or even music festivals we've done, where we are given a production budget to bring people to the show and to the event, and we will do our show. And there are various different ways we can structure business models to make this work in any city in the world, or any field in the world, as we've started doing. But the possibilities are endless, and I think having a flexible approach to our kind of budgets and the kind of people we bring in for different venues means that this is the most flexible and easy show to put on. In a room of 50 people, no problem. In a room with 600 people, not a problem. This is pretty much something you can do anywhere. The other thing I think we really need to speak about now is Literary Deathmatch TV. This is a format that it lends itself to a television show. Why don't we have decent book shows on television? Who watches book shows on TV? Hands up. Okay.
There's a French person in the audience.
There's about 5 people.
Right.
That's bad. I mean, we all love... Who likes reading?
I'm a big fan.
Okay. So look at that gap. That's ridiculous. Why don't we enjoy writing on TV? Because it's not presented the right way. It's not feeding the audience what they need. We've got a format that does that. And so we're pitching Literary Deathmatch as a TV show to anyone who will listen, basically. We're determined to get this on television. We want authors to be the stars. We want people to discover books. We want to reach the biggest audiences we can. This is the way to do it. And shall we show them a little something?
I feel like we should. Well, just to give you a little context, in December 12th, 2012, 12/12/12, total accident, we shot our TV pilot, which we're going to show you a sizzle reel from. It's 4 minutes and 20 seconds of highlights from that. And we raised $11,000 on Kickstarter. Didn't realize we needed about $24,000, so we had to go back and be like, hey...
please, can we have some money to film a pilot? Thank you.
And right now we do the show as a stage show. We could do it on this stage, judges, readers, us running around. But we decided we needed to amp it up significantly for a TV element. So we have an executive producer in LA, Keith Crutchfield, and he really helped us out. So what you're going to see, well, I won't even say the setting because it says it in the reel. But let's go ahead. We'll walk onto the sides. We'll be back in a minute.
Video, please.
Video, please.
Just when you thought reality TV couldn't get any dumber, a new competition show comes on the scene where cutting-edge minds collide, verbal jabs are connected, and the brightest new stars of the literary world get it on. In a boxing ring?
I am thrilled to welcome you to Literary Deathmatch.
Literary Deathmatch.
Tonight we'll pit 4 amazing writers against one another. We'll choose 2 finalists to compete in one epic finale, an audacious challenge to determine who will become the champion of Literary Deathmatch.
4 groundbreaking writers with 3 smart, sexy celebrity judges.
Michael C. Hall. Michael Key.
Reading from their contemporary published works.
I want a clean read, no dangling participles.
I want you to keep your exclamation points under control. Proper use of apostrophes.
Now, let's spill some ink!
I imagine the headline. Despairing mistress throws herself off a Malaysian rooftop. American prostitute dies in a drug deal gone wrong at the Kuala Lumpur Hilton.
I get the feeling this was based on a true story.
They understood you just fine. This is just on some bad blood interplanetary dispute type shit, and they won't vaporize you, but they also definitely won't be taking you anywhere.
Judging on literary merit.
Massive, staggering piece of work.
It's important to note that there are different kinds of casual sex. In fact, there's many kinds of casual sex as there are guys who are interested in sexing you casually.
Performance.
Your stance, it's very commanding, and I sort of imagine one of your long legs coming up and just kicking a phantom man in the head. And this is probably about me, I'll admit that.
All I heard was there's another dead body coming.
As soon as my time machine was finished, I traveled back to 1890 so I could kill Hitler before he was old enough to commit any of his horrible crimes. And then it's a conversation between me and somebody who saw me do it. Oh my God, you killed a baby.
You're not even doing it. You're pretending.
I'm sorry, it's really gross and I can't do it.
And intangibles.
I find your appearance alluring. It's like Mickey and Rocky ran into each other.
With $25,000 up for grabs for charity, they'll put it all on the line.
I think Daniel's gonna drop Adrian like an 11th page. Boom.
In one ridiculous sudden death finale round, the Rant Against the Machine.
I thought they were gonna be boxing.
It's all off script.
For all the writers out there in the struggle, you know what I'm saying? I do this for you, so that's basically it, you know what I'm saying? And the hair off, yeah, we can do that anytime. My hair is always everywhere.
DC, you seem completely out of your mind.
And all from the gut.
The enemy killed, afraid of death returning in the night, when darkness was full of dangerous mystery.
Somehow you are blacker than I am.
It had such a commanding presence, it made me feel inadequate.
I think he does have
Look, anything can happen, folks.
And the Literary Deathmatch champion is... Literary Deathmatch has earned serious cultural cred. And has the critics buzzing, calling it the most entertaining reading series ever, helping to revitalize the coolitude of the printed word, combining the best things about literature mixed with a rare anarchic energy, drenched in electric ambience that feels one step away from something on TV. Welcome to the new world of literary nights, where entertainment is king. Literary Deathmatch. The mic is mightier than the sword.
Okay.
So
we've got a little bit of time left, but we have to be really quick.
we're going to be really quick. Here's what we're going to do, because you guys have never seen the show except the people that have. We're going to bring up two people to participate in the Literary Deathmatch finale that we put together for this. Imagine these two people have just read. The audiences have fallen in love with them. The judges have said, okay, you in round one, you in round two, and they brought them together, and now we bring them on stage for the Literary Deathmatch finale. And tonight we're going to be doing
Spellbinding.
So if we could have Kate,
Kate, please join us.
give a warm round of applause for Kate. And Jonas, is Jonas around? Jonas, bring up Jonas.
Big round
He'll be
of applause.
also competing in the finale. Here's what's going to happen. We are going to have each of them spell their 3 rounds. They're going to each spell complicated, more and more complicated author names. They're going to alternate. The person with the most points at the end wins. Kate, we're going to have you go first, as it's a ladies' first sort of environment. If you could stand center stage. Oh, you've got a microphone. I don't even need this. She'll be spelling Michael Chabon, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author. Kate, if you could spell Chabon. Now, there's one rule twist. If you don't know the name, you get to swap it out. You each get one chance to swap it out. Chabon, would you like to spell it?
Chabon.
Jeez, she's on fire! 6 points for Kate. Thank you very much, Kate. And now, Jonas, if you could step forward. It's now
Can I
his
do this in
chance.
Swedish?
You can do it in
Would
Swedish.
that be okay?
Do you want me to speak to you in Swedish?
Yeah, that would be
Tita
great.
and Isbjörn, it's Thomas Pynchon. Can you spell Pynchon?
P-I-N.
No, unfortunately, it's P-Y-N-C-H-O-N. But you do get the P. That's 1 point. It's now 6-1. Kate, if you could come back up, give it up for Jonas.
Come on, come on. Kate's turn next.
You now are going to spell Michelle Houellebecq. Michelle Houellebecq. Now you can swap this out for maybe a less difficult.
You can do it.
She's going to go for it. Spell Houellebecq. No, but 3 points. She got the H-O-U. Kate, give it up for Kate. Woo! That gives her a 9-1 lead. Can he come back? Can the magnificent Jonas, who you loved his reading so much, come back? The name you have to spell is Chuck Palahniuk. You can swap this out, but I feel like the Fight Club author. Do you feel ready to spell this, or would you like to swap it out? Yeah, I would like to. This seems totally sensible. He's now relaxing. I feel like he's going to get the first letter.
Can you say his name again? Palahniuk.
Palahniuk. Palahniuk. Palahniuk.
P-O-L.
No! 9-2! Ladies and gentlemen.
The massage was really good, though.
Yeah, I really gave it to him on the left hand. All right, Kate, if you could step forward. We're going to have, actually not that one, we're going to have her spell the other one.
This one.
Kate, this one's going to be pretty easy. Everybody knows this gentleman, fantastic African writer, Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Now, here's the thing. There's a twist. You don't have to spell either of the apostrophes. So just the letters in his last name, wa Thiong'o.
W-A apostrophe T-H-I-O-N-G-A.
But she got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gives her a 17-2 lead. Now,
congratulations.
Seems like he could never come back, doesn't it? But in fact, for the final spelling of his night, we're going to sort of bend the rules. Oh, there they are. So if you could spell, could you step forward so you don't see this? You have to spell Eugenides, no, we're going to go Ondaatje Eugenides Solzhenitsyn, a very popular writer from Canada, America, Russia. I can't even speak. It's so awesome that you're going to do this. Just the letters in red. So Michael Ondaatje, Jeffrey Eugenides, and Alexander Solzhenitsyn. In fact, you can start in whatever order you want. You could rack up 49 points here and win this thing.
So what should I say again?
You should say the letters in the order that they're spelled of Ondaatje, Eugenides, and Solzhenitsyn. But you can say Solzhenitsyn, Eugenides, Ondaatje. Which?
Okay. I start with the S word.
Let's see.
S?
That's correct. Keep going.
And his name again?
Solzhenitsyn.
S?
Yes.
And that's my start, yeah?
Yep.
S-O?
Yeah.
L?
Yes.
Yeah.
Said?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're on fire.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. M?
No! So close.
So close.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kate. She is the literary deathmatch champion.
Thank you.
Now we would crown her and amazing things would happen. But yes, usually it's a little closer. Jonas is okay, though. No. Give it up for Jonas as well. He gave a great effort. We're going to leave you now. Thank you so much for listening. I want to say one final thing, which is Junot Diaz, who's a great American Dominican writer. I saw him at the Edinburgh Literary Festival, and he said something that I thought was so beautiful. He said that we all have a blind spot, and it's shaped exactly like us. And he was talking about one editing their own fiction. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, book people, literary deathmatch, publishers, like we all have these blind spots in us, and they're shaped like us, and we don't know that this is a failing thing and that it will never work. And we haven't known that from the beginning of the printing press, and it keeps going. So while people will keep saying that books are dead and la la la, it's nonsense. And the reason it's nonsense is because the people in this room, hopefully us included, are going to keep perpetuating the amazingness of books and the things, and they're going to be fine, but just keep buying them and reading them and tweeting to make sure people read them. I just wanted to say that because we're naive, but it's pretty awesome thing to be naive about. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you around.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Great.